Now, how about them damn Celtics?
We are back for another episode of How About the Celtics? We're here recording on Friday, January 10th, after the Celtics 114-97 loss to the Sacramento Kings. Worst loss of the season. No De'Aaron Fox for the Kings, didn't matter. Fully healthy lineup for the Celtics, didn't matter. Just an ugly, ugly game. There's no other way to spin it.
They pissed me off. They've pissed me off. The thing about the Celtics this year is they get a bit of grace, right? Like they just won a championship. They were one of the best teams in the league's history last year in terms of point differential. They were just an incredible watch. Their connectivity was great. They were locked in all the time. They didn't drop games to bad teams very often. This year, they've lost, I think, 11 games now. What did they lose last year? 16, 18 games the whole season. They're on their way. And
they're on their way.
It's early yet. But there is part of this that feels like they're trying to tell us who they are. Now, we have seen the Celtics in years past make deep playoff runs and be incredible playoff teams despite losing games to teams like this Sacramento team tonight that didn't have their best player, and even with him, haven't been a great team this season despite now winning 6 straight games. But, like, I don't know, man. This is really abnormal. It doesn't feel like they should be losing games like this. The one thing that really makes you feel better about all of it is that they don't really seem to have team issues. There's no body language issues with these guys. They're not getting in arguments. There's not a weird shade throwing within the team like we've seen in other years that had promised 2019. And, you know, I just don't know what to make of it. But it's still frustrating. We have to hold them accountable at some point. This is not saying that you're not doing that. You literally came on here and said it's the worst loss of the season. But this is embarrassing. You're in the Garden. You've lost now 5 of 8 here. What is going on? What are you doing? This is a team that didn't lose until they played their 21st home game last year here.
Sorry. You got to mute when you're done because I don't know when your rants are over. They suck right now. They're not good. The 3-point shooting is completely gone, and I don't know if it's a slump. I don't know if teams are forcing them into bad threes. I don't know what it is, but they are attempting 6 fewer threes. Like through December 22nd, they were averaging 51 and threes a game. Since then, they're averaging 45, which maybe you're still like, 45 is still so many. That's 6 fewer than they were before. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that's around when their losing ways started. And so they've already had, I think it's 12 games this year where they've shot below 43%, and they only had 12 all of last year from the field, I should say. Only had 12 games last year where they shot below 30% from three. Already had 8 this year. Just a lot of bad shooting nights piling up quickly. And I think teams are pressuring them more away from the style of offense that they like to play. I think the Kings did a pretty good job of forcing them to drive instead of shoot threes, which evidently worked well for the Kings. Celtics also got murdered on the glass in this one. Sabonis had 28 rebounds. The Kings killed them on the offensive glass. They took 102 shots to the Celtics 84. Not going to win many games with those margins. They had 16 offensive rebounds to the Celtics 8. Not going to win. 26.8% from three for the Celtics, 38 for the Kings, and they took 6 more. You're not going to win those games. I also think, for what it's worth, Celtics defense hasn't been that good. But we'll stick with the threes first, then we can go to the defense too, because I think that's more of a niche or an in-depth conversation. So yeah, the 3-point shooting this year has just been significantly more inconsistent than it was last year.
Sure has. Listen, it's just hard to be overreactionary to this. I'm not saying it's nothing, but my knee-jerk reaction is to be this is why they need to have something else they do. Because when teams run them off the 3-point line or the threes aren't falling, it looks fucking brutal. And it takes the energy away from the game too. How many times today did we sit up there and be like, the energy in here sucks? And it sucked. The fans sucked too. Everybody sucked today. Team sucked. Fans sucked. We probably sucked on the pregame. Who knows? If you are not able to put the ball in the basket, it does something. Even if the math works out, it takes the air out of things. And listen, the Celtics played a solid 3 quarters of basketball. What was it, 82-82? Or maybe it was 72-70. I don't know. It was tied at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And what they did is they watched their 4th win in 5 games turn into their 7th loss in 15 games. They're one game of whatever. They're one game better than half in their last 15. We had this discussion before.
Their game above 500, yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like the Nuggets game, the Nuggets took more threes than the Celtics did, but they had KP going. Sabonis was super physical with KP tonight. They didn't really have that as much, and they did try to get to it a little bit, but it just wasn't there as much. Jaylen Brown had a hot start. That's usually another example of, okay, what can they go to outside of the threes? They clogged his lanes for a lot of the second and third quarter and into the fourth. Jason Tatum, who is usually there, let's give him the ball. Offense going to come from that. Had 8 turnovers in this game. That's tough when your safety valve is turning the ball over that much and having that sloppy of a night. It's going to be tough to dig yourself out of the hole of what was it? A garbage 3-point shooting night and the threes aren't falling. When you have 15 turnovers, it's not going to be easy to dig yourself out of a bad 3-point shooting night. When you lose the offensive rebounding battle by 8, it's going to be tough. Like it wasn't the threes. Like the threes hurt in this game. Yeah, they did everything else shit too. This was not they shot bad, they lost the game. They were not good in a lot of different areas.
Exactly. Absolutely, yes. I mean, Joe talked about it in the postgame presser. He was like, bad offense is putting a lot of pressure on our defense, and it's true. Celtics gave up 34 points in the first quarter. They gave up 38 in the fourth quarter. I think they were pretty good in the middle quarters. That can't happen. The offense is so ice cold that they are having to take risks extra on defense to where they normally would not have to do that. There was one play in particular in the fourth quarter where Jaylen rushes over to double team whoever had the ball. I don't remember who it was.
Was it,
and it leads to a corner three? Yes.
Okay, yes.
And it leads to a corner 3 for Sacramento. That was an unforced error. Sacramento did nothing to earn that. The Celtics just got over aggressive. They got tight. They took a gamble because they felt like they had to, because they couldn't get anything going on offense without trying to get a fast break. And that's fine. Sometimes you're going to try and double team and you have to blitz guys on defense. Nothing else was working for them. Sacramento shot 8 of 11 from 3 in the fourth quarter. A lot of them were really good looks that they created. Doesn't help that they couldn't get a rebound to close out a defensive possession when they actually got them to miss. It was just ugly. And maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just ugly. But I feel like we're coming on here every other home game now, and we're like, it's ugly. The Pacers game, ugly. Sixers on Christmas, ugly. They need to do something to prevent these cold stretches from happening. I know basketball is a game of runs, but it's happening far too frequently. The second half in OKC, and they played a tremendous first half. They looked like they played the best half of the season in OKC. Then they come out flat. They score 27 points. It felt like that, but like the light version today. It wasn't quite that. You kind of just got like a fourth quarter where you couldn't do anything. They scored 21 in each of the second half quarters. So I suppose you got 2 piss poor quarters, but nothing will quite ever scrape what we saw in OKC. That was just otherworldly cold, but not much better today.
Yeah, and me saying like the threes weren't the only problem does not make an excuse for the threes. Like they've still been ridiculously cold from 3, and that has to change if they want to win basketball games, because it is such a big part of what they do. And those who say we'll do something else, like no, like they've built success. They won the championship last year because of their 3-point attack. They're not going to abandon that just because they're going through a slump. But it's a pretty rough slump right now when other things aren't going well. The defensive part. I wrote something before halftime and I ended up deleting it because the percentages and the math didn't really iron out. But I'm just we'll do eye test here, which is unusual for me. Their perimeter defense sucked. Like the guys are getting by them at will. They're making stupid decisions on the ball that lead to corner threes. Al got blown by a bunch in this game. Hauser got blown by a bunch in this game. Drew and Jaylen got lost off the ball a couple times, or the Kings would shift off the ball or cut backdoor. Jason Tatum might be the worst transition defender I've ever seen. He doesn't run back. He fouls when he turns the ball over. And he, there was one play where Tatum was almost at half court and he was still the last guy back into the play and the Kings got a good shot. Like that can't happen. Combine that with weird screen navigation that leaves guys open from 3, which maybe that's the game plan. They're like, okay, they're not a good percentage shooter. Still, they're making them. Combine it with not getting around screens quick enough, and giving up open floaters. Combine it with guys just losing their one-on-one perimeter defensive matchups. Like the Kings' offense tonight just got a ton of good looks because of the Celtics' shoddy individual defense, and the shots weren't falling from them early, so you didn't really notice it as much. But when it came down to it at the end of the game, look what happens, right? Couple offensive rebounds here. Jaylen and everyone else just watching off the ball in the paint as two King shooters get wide open threes at the top of the key to spur this run. You lose, right? I'm going to try to find that play, but like I remember the play was early in the fourth quarter. I forget who it was missed a three, but it was wide open, and Jaylen and Drew were just looking at each other in the paint like, oh, one of us should probably close out there, and nobody did, and they just got an open three. And then the three bounced right to Sabonis at the top of the key, and still nobody got out to cover him. And then it was another open three. And hey, guess what? They made the second one. It's just it was bad. I'm pulling up this play now because this was Bobby Manning turned to me, excuse me, in the press conference room and was like, "This is where it turned." And I agree. And I think it stemmed from their. I don't know if it was effort. I don't know if it was execution. I think it was truly a mix of everything.
Frustration.
Bad defense. No, it was from the jump, though. The game started with Drew Holiday having a great defensive possession on, I forget who it was. And then every other defensive possession pass that I thought was bad. Like, look at this. Ready? 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. Kings have jumped out to a little 5-point lead, right? Drew and Jaylen both sink in for whatever reason. I have no idea why Drew and Jaylen are shifting over here. Malik Monk passes to Trey Lyles. No one's guarding Malik Monk at this point. No one even tries to close out. Malik Monk gets a wide open three, misses it. Ball bounces all the way back to Sabonis. Drew Holiday clears out to Monk. Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard are guarding the same guy. Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White are guarding the same guy. Two Kings players are wide open from three here, and Sabonis just takes it and makes it. Like, what are we doing? Where's the effort? Like, it's just not there.
No, it's not there. It's hard to like the knee jerk is to be like, this is one of those days, but how many of those days can you have before it's not one of those days anymore? Like, I'm starting to get there where I'm like, my concern is beginning to be piqued. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed. I'm legitimately pissed. I don't think they should lose games like this. You have your full starting lineup, you have full top six, the team that everybody has raved about, a team that won. What did they win? 64 games last year. They have their entire unit. They missed Jordan Walsh and Drew Peterson in this game. That's it. It's not like they're playing without people. Sacramento's playing without their top guy. And they get beat. They get killed. And they get outworked. I mean, the outworked thing is subjective, I guess. When you're giving up that many offensive rebounds, it might not be. And listen, you can say what you want. Sabonis did a great job of taking advantage of any mismatch that he was met with when the shots went up and he hit the glass hard and he played with a great effort. That happens. You're going to meet a guy that is just on it that day. But at the same time, you need to be able to keep your poise when things aren't going well. And that truly is what it feels like today. Joe kind of said it in a very roundabout, nice way in the press conference. When they didn't have the offense go, put a lot of strain on the defense, which essentially means that they got burnt out and frustrated, and they didn't really carry over the effort. And you saw them play with good effort in the middle quarters, and then once it started to avalanche in the fourth quarter, it got worse and worse and worse.
It's just bad, man. I mean, listen, I still fully, wholeheartedly believe that a big part of this, and it's not an excuse, it's just what I think is happening, is they know that they can win in the playoffs, and so they don't care about the regular season as much. I truly think that's what a big part of this is. I'm not saying that's a good thing. Don't think it's a good thing. Think it's a bad thing, honestly. Maybe that's a hot take here. Don't think that's a good. But I think that's a part of what's happening. And I just saw a mouse in here. I think this is a second mouse. Got Mickey and Minnie.
I saw one not that long ago up in near the sports deck.
They're hanging out.
Rats all over the place here today.
Clearly. Just bad, man. It's just a tough night. I mean, no one had a good night. This was the first game this season where I usually have to, when I do studs and duds, sometimes they play so well I have to do a fake dud and do 4 studs or 4 duds. These guys sucked. It was hard to find players who played well. I had Kristaps as one because I thought he was pretty good, and then Jaylen as the other. But even Jaylen had his moments. Jaylen had some tunnel vision moments in the first quarter. He couldn't score in the second and third quarter. He was completely taken down, or restricted by the Kings. Tatum had 8 turnovers. He shot okay from 3, but couldn't do anything else. Shot 2 of 6 from 2-point range. Only got to the line for 3 free throws. Derek White was 1 of 8, 0 of 6. Drew Holiday only took 4 shots. Pritchard was 1 of 7 from 3. Hauser was 1 of 4 from 3. Luke Cornett was pretty good, I guess, if that's what you want to go to. Horford didn't make a 3. Like, outside of Tatum and Porzingis, the Celtics shot it combined. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 of 12, 14, 16, 19. 4 of 19 from 3 outside of JT and KP. Not a good night. Not going to win many games like that. Add in the turnovers, add in the shoddy perimeter defense, and man, Sabonis was great. I'm going to give him all the credit. 23, 28, and 3 assists. Like, probably should have had more assists than that too. They didn't have an answer for him. He was so physical down there. He did a great job on the glass. He was grabbing every rebound. Trey Lyles had 5 offensive rebounds too. Like, give the Kings all the credit in the world for the way they played. This game started with Keon Ellis getting bullied by Jaylen Brown and so quickly devolved into, wow, the Celtics can't find any offense. And maybe that should have been foreshadowing. If the only offense they could find was Jaylen Brown finding a way to score on Keon Ellis and they couldn't get anything else ever, probably have to assume that's going to dry up eventually and the Kings are going to change their defense. And that's what happened.
Just embarrassing, man. Like, I don't know how many times we can say it. Nobody's gonna watch this. This is how it goes. five views by noon. Doesn't mean we don't like being here, by the way. But it's just like I don't know how many times this has to happen to them before something changes. I thought the road trip could have been a great jumping point, liftoff. I think I literally wrote a Celtics blog article where I was like, yeah, it feels like they're kind of waiting for a runway to take off, and they might be finally getting the signal. Nah. They got to de-ice the plane again. You got to figure out how to get the freezing cold offense to fucking go because they can't.
Yeah, just a rough night, man. They got the Pelicans on Sunday. Hopefully, that's a good bounce back game opportunity. Because if not, yeah, because imagine Zion comes in angry about his suspension, just goes off at TD Garden.
Well, I won't be here.
Oh yeah,
not coming.
Yeah, man. Bad loss to the Kings. Probably their worst loss of the season. I'll say definitely their worst loss of the season. This was the worst. They got some stuff to figure out. I don't think they're worried if that's wants to be your one okay takeaway. Maybe that's
Porzingis, another good takeaway. Back-to-back double-doubles for Porzingis. I actually thought he was good today.
He was good.
I was going to write about him before they melted.
Yep. Yeah, outside of KP and Jaylen for the most part, everyone was just butt ass, as Terp would say. Only 3 players in the Celtics scored above 10 points. Can't tell you the last time that happened. Yeah, I don't got anything else.
This is not just like this is a 15-game sample size now where they have been mediocre. The offense has been rough for a while.
Yes.
You reach a certain point, maybe it is not just a cold thing. Maybe there's adjustments to be made. Maybe teams are privy to what you're doing and they are trying to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit. I'm not entirely certain. I just can tell you it's been brutal to watch this team for the last month and a half.
Yeah. And
really since the in-season tournament break, if you want an exact point.
Sure. We'll see how quickly they can turn it around. I think they will. I mean, there's still a decent record on the season. They're still second in the East. Like, it's not like they are fighting for a play-in spot. So we can have a little bit of context and something there, but it's just not the standard of Celtics basketball right now that they have set for themselves.
Correct, and that's what the problem is. Like, the expectation is different than this, especially, it's one thing to like go on the road and struggle. Something about losing games here really gets under my skin. Like it always has. I know you don't care about it as much. It really bothers me when they don't win here. This is supposed to be somewhere where you feel like you have an edge. I don't know what to think when I come in the next. What am I here next Friday? You think they're going to show up against the Magic with Paulo? Maybe they'll care enough to come.
I get wanting to win at home more because you're in front of your fans, but in my mind, it's the same court, it's the same ball, it's the same hoops, it's the same players, it's the same opponents. Like, it shouldn't matter where you are. Like, there's a certain level you should be playing at, and they haven't been playing at it for the most part, consistently, at least for the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe. And I don't think it matters if it's at home or not. Like, just be better. Like, they just got to be more consistent. It's the consistency, I think, that's killing them. And unfortunate for you, bad year for the white jerseys at home.
I posted the meme on Twitter of Pat Riley. Might be washed.
Yeah, I saw. Maybe they got to start intentionally not wearing them.
Maybe they should just play serious basketball. Maybe they should do
I agree. That's all I got, though. We can wrap there. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll let Sam take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like, comment, complain about this game. I'm sure you have some complaints. Hit the bell. Jack and I are here every single day. New pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps are up the morning after each game, and other videos are up on the channel in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can find us on Spotify and Apple as well. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you follow us, they'll go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that very much. It does help us out. Email is hbtcpod@gmail.com. Jack and I are going to be recording in the afternoon of Saturday, Eastern time. If there's any day that you have something to say, it's today. RJ's already emailed us. It's 11:20 p.m. Eastern on Friday. RJ's already got it in. Be like RJ. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jack's1NBA. Mine is at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.